Audiobook Summary of Atomic Habits by James Clear. Let's talk about habits, the invisible architecture of our lives. Every day, without thinking, we follow dozens of routines. Some of them build us up, while others quietly chip away at the future we want. In Atomic Habits, James Clear makes a bold claim. Small changes, when repeated consistently, create remarkable results. This book is not about quick fixes, nor about radical overnight transformations. Instead, it's about the power of tiny adjustments, atomic habits that compound over time into E. This summary will walk through the main principles of the book, bringing out the key lessons, the memorable examples, and the practical strategies that anyone can apply. Along the way, I'll connect the dots, highlight the psychology behind habits, and show how Clear's framework can apply to work, health, relationships, and personal growth. Why small habits matter. James Clear opens the book with a story about how he nearly lost everything. As a teenager, he was hit in the face with a baseball bat. The accident shattered his skull, broke his nose, and put him into a coma. His recovery was slow, painful, and uncertain. But over time, through small daily actions, exercising, journaling, studying consistently, he rebuilt not just his health, but his life. Years later, he became an author, entrepreneur, and one of the world's leading voices on habits. This personal story illustrates the heart of his philosophy. Big success comes not from huge leaps, but from small steps repeated consistently. Habits are like compound interest. Just as money multiplies when it is invested and allowed to grow, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. A single push-up today won't change your body, just like a single penny won't make you rich. But repeated over months and years, those small acts create remarkable change. Clear puts it in numbers. If you get just 1% better each day for a year, you'll end up 37 times better. On the flip side, if you get 1% worse each day, you'll end up near zero. Success and failure are not events. They're the result of accumulated habits. The 4 laws of behavior change. The backbone of Atomic Habits is a simple framework. The 4 laws of behavior change. These are principles you can use to build good habits and break bad ones. They are: 1. Make it obvious. 2. Make it attractive. 3. Make it easy. 4. Make it satisfying. Together they describe how habits are formed and how they can be reshaped. Let's unpack each one in detail. First law. Make it obvious. Habits begin with cues, the little signals that trigger a behavior. If you want to start a new habit, you need to make the cue obvious and visible. If you want to stop a bad habit, you need to make the cue invisible or harder to notice. Clear uses the example of leaving your running shoes by the door. If the shoes are in sight, the cue is obvious, and you're more likely to go for that run. On the other hand, if you're trying to cut back on junk food, don't keep cookies on the counter. Hide them away. Or better yet, don't buy them at all. He also introduces a technique called habit stacking. This is where you take an existing habit and stack a new one on top of it. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will floss. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write down one thing I'm grateful for. By anchoring new habits onto old ones, you create reliable cues that make the behavior obvious. The lesson here is simple. Don't rely on willpower. Design your environment so that the good habits are the default choice. Second law. Make it attractive. Habits are powered by craving. If a habit feels appealing, you're far more likely to stick with it. This is why Clear suggests bundling something you want to do with something you need to do. For example, if you love watching Netflix but want to exercise more, you might say, "I'll only watch my favorite show while I'm on the treadmill." He also explains the power of social norms. We are wired to imitate the habits of 3 groups. The close, our family and friends. The many, our tribe, our community. And the powerful, those with status or influence. If you surround yourself with people who live the way you want to live, their behavior becomes attractive and contagious. Want to read more? Join a book club. Want to quit drinking? Spend more time with people who are sober. The big insight here is that motivation is not just internal. It's shaped by the environment and the company we keep. Third law: make it easy. Many people think success requires massive discipline. Clear flips that idea on its head. The best habits are the ones that require the least effort. If you want to build a habit, reduce friction. If you want to break one, increase friction. Think about it. If your guitar is in the closet, you'll practice less. If it's on a stand in your living room, you'll pick it up more often. If your phone is next to your bed, you'll scroll late into the night. If it's charging in another room, you'll sleep better. Clear also introduces the 2-minute rule. The idea is, any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to start. Want to start running? Just put on your shoes. Want to read more? Just open a book and read 1 page. By lowering the barrier, you make it easy to start. And once you start, momentum takes over. This principle also explains why automation is powerful. For example, setting up automatic savings makes building wealth nearly effortless. The less willpower required, the more likely the habit will stick. Fourth law: make it satisfying. The final piece of the puzzle is reward. Habits stick when they feel good in the short term, not just the long term. Our brains evolved to prefer immediate rewards over delayed ones, which is why bad habits like smoking or junk food are so enticing. They give instant pleasure even if they harm us later. So how do we make good habits satisfying? One method is tracking. When you cross off a habit on a calendar or check it off in a notebook, your brain gets a small hit of satisfaction. Another method is reinforcement. Give yourself an immediate reward after the habit. For example, if you want to save money, move $1 into a fun account every time you cook at home instead of eating out. The point is, success needs to feel good now, not just someday in the future. Advanced concepts, identity, and systems. The 4 laws are practical, but James Clear goes deeper. He argues that true habit change is not about achieving goals. It's about becoming a certain kind of person. Most people focus on outcomes. I want to lose weight. I want to write a book. I want to run a marathon. But outcomes are just the surface. Beneath that are processes, the routines and systems you follow. And beneath that is identity, the kind of person you believe you are. Clear suggests flipping the script. Instead of asking, what do I want to achieve? Ask, who do I want to become? Then, build habits that reinforce that identity. If you want to become a writer, focus on being the type of person who writes every day, even if it's just a paragraph. If you want to become fit, focus on being the type of person who doesn't miss workouts, not the person chasing a number on the scale. Habits are votes for the type of person you want to be. Every action is a small proof of your identity. Over time, these votes accumulate, and your sense of self shifts. You don't just say, I want to run. You start saying, I am a runner. That's the deepest form of habit change. Breaking bad habits. So far, we've talked about building good habits. But what about breaking bad ones? Clear shows that you can invert the 4 laws. 1. Make it invisible. 2. Make it unattractive. 3. Make it difficult. 5. Make it unsatisfying. For example, if you want to stop checking social media, remove the apps from your phone. Make them invisible. If you want to spend less money, remind yourself of the stress debt brings. Make overspending unattractive. If you want to watch less TV, unplug it after each use. Make it difficult. And if you want to quit smoking, find an accountability partner who will be disappointed if you slip. Make it unsatisfying. The key is not to rely on willpower alone. Design your environment and social structures so that bad habits become harder, less appealing, and less rewarding. The plateau of latent potential. One of the most powerful ideas in the book is the plateau of latent potential. When we start a new habit, progress often feels slow or invisible. We go to the gym for weeks without seeing a change in the mirror. We write every day but don't yet have an audience. We save money but the account still looks small. Clear says this is because habits often deliver delayed results. Progress is not linear, it's exponential. There's a lag between effort and outcome, and many people quit right before the breakthrough, in what he calls the valley of disappointment. Think of it like heating an ice cube. At 25 degrees, nothing happens. At 26, still nothing. At 31, no change. But at 32 degrees, suddenly the ice melts. The energy was never wasted. It was building toward a tipping point. Habits work the same way. Habits and practice. Stories and examples. Throughout the book, Clear shares stories of habits in action. The British cycling team, once mediocre, became dominant by focusing on small improvements, like adjusting bike seats, refining nutrition, even painting the inside of the vans white so they could spot dust. Over time, these tiny tweaks added up to Olympic gold medals and Tour de France victories. Or consider Japanese rail workers, who developed the habit of pointing and calling, physically pointing to signals and verbally confirming them. This small routine reduced errors by 85% and accidents by 30%. These stories show that habits are not abstract theories. They are the difference between average and exceptional performance. Designing your environment. Another recurring theme in Atomic Habits is environment design. Clear emphasizes that we often overestimate willpower and underestimate the power of our surroundings. If your environment is full of cues for bad habits, change is almost impossible. But if you design your environment to nudge you toward good habits, transformation becomes natural. Want to eat healthier? Place fruit where you can see it and hide junk food. Want to practice guitar more? Keep it on a stand in the middle of the room. Want to read more? Put books in every room of the house. Clear puts it this way: environment is the invisible hand that shapes behavior. The role of tracking and reflection. Another powerful tool is measurement. What gets measured gets managed. Tracking habits makes progress visible, provides motivation, and keeps you honest. A simple journal or app can reinforce the loop of behavior. But tracking isn't enough. You also need reflection. Periodically step back and ask, are these habits serving me? Am I becoming the person I want to be? Habits are powerful, but they are also blind. They repeat whether or not they are still useful. Reflection keeps you intentional. The Goldilocks Rule. Clear introduces what he calls the Goldilocks Rule. Humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are just at the edge of their ability. Not too easy, not too hard, but just right. This is why habits need to evolve. If they stay too easy, you get bored. If they become too difficult, you get discouraged. The sweet spot keeps you engaged. Think of a runner who gradually increases mileage, or a musician who tackles slightly harder pieces over time. That balance keeps growth alive. Habits and freedom. At first glance, habits may sound like restrictions. After all, routines mean doing the same things over and over. But Clear argues that habits are actually a form of freedom. Once good habits are in place, they free your mind from decision fatigue and willpower battles. You don't have to think about brushing your teeth, writing your daily page, or going for a jog. It happens automatically. Habits remove the mental burden, leaving you more energy for creativity, problem solving, and living. Discipline, paradoxically, creates freedom. Conclusion: the power of atomic habits. So, what's the big picture? James Clear's Atomic Habits is not about dramatic transformations, but about consistent, tiny steps. The key takeaways are: habits compound over time, for better or worse. Focus on systems and identity, not just goals. Use the 4 laws of behavior change to build good habits. Make them obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Invert those laws to break bad habits. Design your environment, track your progress, and reflect regularly. Stay patient through the plateau of latent potential. The message is empowering. You don't need to be a different person overnight. You just need to get 1% better, day after day. Small habits are the atoms of your life. Put them together, and you build the foundation of remarkable change. As Clear writes, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. So the question is, what kind of person will you choose to be today? That's the summary of Atomic Habits. A book about small changes that compound into extraordinary results. About shaping identity through action. And about designing life one tiny habit at a time. If you'd like to dive even deeper into James Clear's ideas, you can always find the full audiobook of Atomic Habits online. And if you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Book Nibbles, where we share fresh audiobook summaries every single day. there's always another life-changing book waiting for you.